What is up, guys? Tabletop Guy here, joined by my good friend Darcy, aka
Dracovan.
Please go check out his YouTube for exciting duels, and one of my deck profiles is on there as well, if I remember right. From the locals that I won. But yeah, he's graced me today with his presence because he's going to be doing his Exodia deck profile for me. The deck is annoying to play against, but it's really fun to see that Exodia now has its own deck and it's capable of getting into actual regional tournaments and actually doing good stuff. So I'm just going to pass you over to Darcy and he'll talk you through it.
Cool. So just as a preface before we get started, I only picked this up because it was under my budget. I always thought the Exodia archetype was really cool because it was just like this unstoppable thing, and now it became its own archetype, but in a more realistic term and not just an outright win con. And I always like to wind my opponents up a little bit on like game 2 and game 3. I was like, oh yeah, I've got all 5 pieces, mate, so GG. I was like, what? So now I'm joking. But it's a bit of fun, but yeah, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Tabletop Guy.
Always a pleasure.
And yeah, let's get into the profile.
Oh yes. Show me the money.
So, of course, I hate to upset everybody. I only have 3 out of 5 of them, but here's all the 5 pieces. You need this in the deck. Need to get 2 QCR prints of these. Got these free though, so we're nearly there. But in case anyone doesn't know, this is what you need to make the Millennium deck playable. If you can't have any access to these pieces, then don't even bother playing the deck. You would rather use it as an engine. So for anyone who doesn't know, if you have all 5 pieces in the hand, so the head, left, right, you'll be able to basically win the game on the spot. But the chances of doing that in this game is not even possible. The chances are so low, and the game developers who designed this have definitely made sure that it's not possible to get all 5 pieces in the hand.
But it is possible to draw them all. It is very, very, very unlikely, but it is possible.
Do you ever hear that story of that kid at One Locals? It was like a young kid, and he was playing against a really competitive player, and in his first game, he had all 5 pieces of Exodia.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
And he power shuffled his deck. He asked his opponents to cut it, and somehow, game 2, he had all the pieces of the game.
Oh,
he did I forgot what the percentage was. I feel like 0.12 something percent, right? Really ridiculously low percentage to get all 5 pieces in hand. And he did it, and I'm not even surprised the opponent was that mad. But the thing is, he did it himself, so we can't argue it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've waffled on a little bit there, so I do apologise. So yeah, 5 pieces of Exodia. Now to the Millennium cards. So, this bad boy, Singing Jim. So, this dude is more or less your main starter. So, every Millennium monster has the ability to activate the hand and place themselves into the spell and trap card zone. And each Millennium monster has, well, at least the first batch anyway, has an ability where you either pay 2,000 life points or reveal the spell card Millennium Ankh from your hand. And then you can special summon it, and then these guys do a following effect. This one in particular, you special summon it from the back row, and then you add a Millennium monster from your deck to your hand. Really good monster. It's also a level 8, so you can get into rank 8 place, and it's just really beefy and stacky. So, fantastic card for what it's worth.
It looks nice as well.
For its main counterpart, the one you're typically going to be searching, is the Millennium Shield. Fun fact, one of my favourite cards back in the day as a vanilla, so the fact to see it as a retrain like this, I'm just over the moon. So Millennium Shield of Dynasty, basically, just like the Sega Gym before. So you put in the back row on activation for the hand, you either pay 2,000 or reveal Ankh, special it from your back row, and then add the Millennium Ankh from your deck to your hand. And also it can be destroyed by spell and trap card effects. Fantastic card, I love it to death. In this version, I am only opting to play 1 of the Golem. Typically, I would have played 2. I might go back to 2, I'm not too sure yet. But the reason being because of the brand new support from the Raging Abyss. Deck has now got a little bit tighter, so I had to squeeze some room in. But effectively, just like the other ones, you pay 2,000 or reveal on from hand, special summon from back row, and then add the field spell when you temple. And then the neat effect this monster has is that Millennium Ankh cannot be negated. So, really good card for what it's worth. And now, I'm in love with this.
Oh, man. For anyone who doesn't know, Darcy's absolute favourite deck in the world and monster is Blue Eyes. So
Yeah,
when this came out, he was very happy.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, this is technically the 4th Blue Eyes White Dragon. This is not a Kaiba's Blue Eyes. It is actually Grandpa's Blue Eyes. So the fact they put this into this deck is just so...
It's such a good little, like, nudge to the original, like, series. It's just cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So this card literally speeds up the deck so much, right? So you can discard this card from your hand to add Millennium Ankh from your deck to your hand. The reason why this is important is because there's a good chance you're going to get interrupted through an Ash Blossom, for example. So to bait out the interruptions is a good way to get this, and then discard it, and they get the Ankh. Then, when it's discarded into the graveyard, you can, when you've activated Millennium Ankh to get the big boy Exodia out, that effect stays live until the next turn. If your opponent summons a monster that's level 8 or happens to have 3,000 more attack, you can send that monster to the graveyard and special summon the Blue Eyes from the graveyard, but that's only once per dual effect. So that is not going to come up as often, but it is important to know this because I do generally feel this is just a fantastic card for what it's worth. You're never summoning this all the time, but this is like the main thing to get things going. But 10 out of 10, love the artwork, just love how powerful this card is. Yep, definitely need to play free, without question. So now that's more or less all the Millennium Monsters. We're going to move on to some other cards. So, yes, I am sorry. We are playing Shifter. It is a Shifter deck. Very little cards enter the graveyard, so you do that. There's no reason why you wouldn't.
Very straightforward.
Because typically I'm really bad at getting the die roll. You know, I opt to go second all the time by default, so that's why I have Lava Golem. Lava Golem is really good because it gets rid of 2 monsters, but it locks you out to normal summoning, which is fine because all the Millennium Monsters you special summon from the back row is classified as special summon, so we don't really care about that. So that's more or less all the monsters. Now we're going to move on to the spells. So a little niche tech I've added in for a little bit more consistency is Melody of the Awakened Dragon. You discard 1 card, add 2 dragons with 3,000 or higher attack or 2,500 less defense, and would you look at that? You know, it just happens to match the description. So yeah, I think this is a really good card. Test it if you feel it's appropriate. You do have to do a discard, unfortunately, but we have to make sacrifices in the end. Next card I'm going to talk about is 2 field spells. So Wenyu Temple and Secret Village of the Spellcasters. So Wenyu Temple is really cool. You can put any monster from your hand into the back row, and then you can put one of the Millennium Monsters from your deck into the back row as well. And then you can carry on the plays there, just in case you don't have an opening starter. What's really cool about this card is that when any of the Millennium Monsters that get destroyed by battle, instead of going to the graveyard, they will go back in the spell and trap card zone as continuous spells. So effectively going back into tablet form. Fantastic card. You don't need free. I think free is too much in my personal opinion. But Secret Village of Spellcasters, I'm definitely opting to play a second one. I just need to find the room. But this card is just insane because it's a floodgate, unfortunately. But once you have a spellcaster on your board, your opponent cannot activate spells unless they control spellcaster. And just for this little sneaky preview, yeah, this is Exodia, and he just happens to be a spellcaster. It is so dumb.
Oh, I hate it when you drop that card on me.
We'll get into Exodia soon enough. So carrying on with the Millennium trend, the Heart and Soul, quite literally, Millennium Ankh. So you could have to reveal 5 pieces of Exodia from your hand, field, or deck. If your opponent doesn't do this, then they are actually not abiding by gameplay standards. So what I mean by that is, if your opponent fails to reveal all 5 pieces, you know, then technically they're not following the rules, and then you can call them out for it. Because one thing I want to express, it's not going to happen, but just due to personal experience and poor players I've had in the past, people do tend to cheat. So always tell your opponents to show more. Yeah. If you trust them, that's on you, right?
Yeah, but when we're playing, obviously, I know that you've got it there.
Yeah, exactly. But in a proper tournament example, I want you to show me all 5 pieces.
Yeah, 100%.
So, after waffling on a bit, so reveal all 5 pieces, and then you would shuffle them all back into the deck, and then you will special summon the fusion monster, and then you will put this into the shuffled zone again. And this is what I was emphasizing before, because the Exodia pieces are going to be shuffled so many times, it's unlikely you're going to get all 5 pieces in your hand again. But fantastic card. Lastly, make sure you remember that when you activate this card, you cannot special summon, summon at all for the rest of the turn. No. So this is your last key piece you need to use. Moving on, so just quickly touching on these. So 1 Obliterate Blaze and 1 Exode Fire of Rage. We're still going to the spell section, but I thought I'd add this in anyway. So Obliterate is basically a heavy storm. So you wipe both back rows, and then you put all 5 pieces of Exodia into your back row, and Exodia will gain attack equal to each piece in the back row by 2,000 each. So by default, it'll become 10,000. Really pretty good. And then of course this is your nuke button, your tactical nuke, whatever you want to call it. If you control Exodia or a monster that has Exodia name, that's a level 10, etc, etc. You can flip it and then destroy your opponent's board. Second effect does come up, surprisingly. If you have any pieces that's in your banish zone or in your graveyard, you can banish this card and put those back into the deck. Or you can have 1 piece from your deck to your hand. If you are unfortunately enough to have 4 pieces and you need a 5th piece, and just smile at your opponent. I'm setting big time. Yeah, so carrying on with the spells, Pots of Prosperity, just a bit more consistency. Terraforming, more consistency to get to the piece we need to. Call the Haunted, because I hate your fucking deck. Much Army is horrendous, so this has to go in, just from my opinion. Talents, because fuck Much Army. A bit of back row hate, so 2 Lightning Storm, 1 Feather Duster, just because. If Tempai can do it, so can I. And then finally, coming to the traps, 3 Imperm from my hand trap, and then 1 Tikaboo, because every single monster in the deck is different, so why not play it?
And I've had you flip that on me.
And you hate my guts. But of course, the MVP, and this obviously gives away what's in the extra deck, but this card is phenomenal. So what this card does is you special summon it as an effect monster that is also a trap. And then when your opponent would normal or special summon a monster, you can send this card or a continuous trap that acts as a monster to the graveyard, and then you can just negate the summon and destroy it. Fantastic card. You should play it because Silhouette Rabbit is broken. Moving on now to the extra deck. So, yep, I have revealed this before, but we are maxing out on 3. So this thing is just an absolute demon. It's just insane for what it can offer. So first things first, can't be destroyed by monster effects? Opponent's card effects, yeah, so it's pretty awesome in terms of what it does. And then once per turn, on the standby phase, you have to lose 1,000 life points, but the payoff is if you were to battle your opponents on the damage calculation, depending on what your life points value is, you can attack, and then it will become the attack of your life total, and it will stay that way. Okay, so for example, if I have 8,000 life points, I attack into you, it will remain at 8,000. Alright, it's also really nice, it's a soft once per turn, spell and trap negate, really powerful card. So if I happen to have multiples on board, then obviously it's even better. Okay, I definitely think there's a lot of experimentation to go with this, because not a lot of people are putting in a massive emphasis that this is classified as a special summon, not a fusion summon. So do keep that in mind, get your brains tingling, try to find out other methods. And then for the majority of it, it's just filler at this stage, but whatever the match outcome is. So I run 1 Garura, and 1 Muddy Mud Dragon. So these cards, it doesn't show the main deck, but there is the card inside out, which is super poly, but these are by my general fusion monsters that I use. And then of course, moving on to links, Dark, self-explanatory, there's a lot of darks in the deck. And then I can steal a dark, and then go into Selene and go link climb that way. Earth, same idea. There could be potential Earth targets in the opponent's extra deck. If there's not, it's a nice spellcaster, go for Secret Village. And then this card's really cool. So if I deal damage to my opponent using my monster, I can make myself gain equal life of the damage they took, and then after that we both take 1,000 damage. Well, fantastic. I think it's really good and special on time. Nightmare Phoenix, because we hate back row. Nightmare Unicorn, because we just hate cards. And then one card I really like, I thought would be really cool to add to the game, is the Blackluster Soldier. So it requires 3 monsters with different names, and everything in Millennium just happens to have a different monster, which I think is really cool. Really cool effects, kind of like the budget SP if you can't afford an SP lower night.
I might have to invest in that now.
Celine's really good. It's a spellcaster after all, so your charmers can go into this, and then of course you have a decent amount of spells in your grave. You know, you can put counters on it, remove 3 spell counters, put a spellcaster from your graveyard onto the battle zone, and then use this to link 4 into anything you need to. So typically it will be an Access Skull Talker. Used to be an Appaloosa, but unfortunately she's banned.
Goodbye.
Speaking of, well, not Appaloosa, of course. Silhouette Rabbit, unbelievably fucking good, right? A lot of people slept on this card because they just thought it was cheap, so it's not really good. Look at it now. Why is it so good? It's because on Link Summon you put any trap cards in the back row, right? And when you do that, but specifically the ones that have to be a monster trap, yeah? So Odeon will be very proud. This card's insane. You know, as soon as you put like a monster trap onto the field, this also pops a spell and trap, if I'm not mistaken, or a card in general. So fantastic, you need this. Try and invest in one of these. And then just for space, Unchained Abomination, because I'm just going to be nasty. And just because I managed to be able to pull one SP low now, definitely run this where possible. So that's the main and extra. So we're going to move on to my sideboard now. So shout out to Rengoku, you know, sick ass, you know, character. It was really last second, to be honest. So I run 3 Solemn Judgment. Don't know if it's probably the best call, but I hate back row. So if anything's going to stop me, then I need to stop it. So it stops Lightning Storms, stops Summons, stops really things I need to. Super Poly, as mentioned, because of those 2 extra deck monsters I use. If it's combo or very lenient Nibiru, if I come across another fucking draw again, I will make sure this fucking card is going to stop them. Okay? Yeah, I'm sorry. It just really winds me up. D-Barrier for Xyz or anything like that. Shout out to YuGiOh. Not looking forward to them when they come to the TCG. And then finally, Spooky Dogwood. Spooky Dogwood in this deck is insane. You know, just make my life points as fat as I want. Let Tenpai do all the combos they want, you know, make them do everything they see fit in terms of like constantly summoning in the battle phase, trigger this, just send it away. And every time that, you know, them summon a monster out getting life points, it's fair game. It's completely balanced.
And then you can up your Exodia's attack by which you've got.
Oh, yes.
Ridiculous.
Yep, and that, my friend, is the definition of fun.
Yeah.
Right, thank you all for listening to me waffle on for a while. But yeah, thank you very much, Tabletop Guy, for having me onto your channel.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you for sharing your deck profile with us. Hopefully have you on again very soon.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
That I intend to.
And what is your YouTube again?
My YouTube is Dracovan. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on other socials such as X and Instagram. And until next time, yeah.
See you later, guys.
Have a good one.